They told me I wouldn't make it, but God had the final say. That's Tim Jones, and this is Eagles Don't Quack, a podcast where truth rises and average get left behind. Let's chop it up. I'm your host, Tony Williams. Tim Jones, how you doing, brother?
I'm blessed. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I feel truly blessed. Our lives are parallel in so many ways, but different in some others. So I'm very blessed to be able to share my story.
Well, thank you for being here. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here with us, and we're definitely happy that you are here. So, who is Tim Jones? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
2-0 against cancer is first and foremost. I was born in Smithfield, North Carolina. Grew up in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, working those farms in Red Oak, and I definitely know about hard work.
Yeah.
After graduating high school, I went to St. Augustine's College, right down the street from NC State, running those hills and cross country, and yeah, um, got involved with ROTC and decided that I needed to hit reset, and there was some areas in my life that I didn't have confidence, and military definitely gave me that. So that's just a little bit about my story, basics.
Faith-led, medically backed, mentally unshaken, a double cancer survivor story. That's Tim Jones. Tim, let's do a fun question. So, what's one thing about you that most people would never guess?
They look at me, and when I tell them that I'm 65 years old, they can't believe it after showing my ID. And that is because I'm blessed that I never wore whatever I was going through in life, whether it be surviving cancer twice, having 2 knees replaced, having my back fused during the time that I was going through cancer treatment. That would really tear a lot of people apart. But instead, I was able to maintain, and as a matter of fact, my faith and my self-confidence grew. So I never wore on my face physically, outwardly, the circumstances and the storms of life that I was going through.
You're a true Benjamin Button. You call me your big brother a lot, and I remember in a situation you said that, and I told people, I said, "Y'all know he is 65," and that no one could believe it. You do not look your age, man. It is truly something that we need to bottle up.
Definitely. Let's sell it. Let's sell it.
So growing up, there are some parallels. You grew up in the church, I think you mentioned. Your dad was an apostolic preacher. And so let's talk about the faith. How did you grow up in that environment? I'm a PK kid as well, apostolic Pentecostal preacher. How did faith affect you? And how did going to the doctor and that view growing up, what did you see and how did that make you feel growing up in the church and being in that situation?
Well, being in that situation, yes, there were a lot of positives, and I was very well grounded, of course. But there was a barrier that we talked about in the health conferences I went to in Raleigh, NC State, that came up. That my family didn't go to doctors. They didn't believe in doctors.
Mhm.
The only time I would see a doctor was for physical, playing sports. So I was already behind as far as knowing what my family history was, and I saw a lot of church members. As a kid, you hear about someone having cancer. Of course, you don't know what that's like, and those church members didn't survive. Had they gone to a doctor, maybe their life would have been extended, or maybe they would have survived. So, when I was diagnosed, I knew, and they would ask me to fill out those forms about your family history. I would have to say I didn't know. Um, so it really kind of put me behind as far as knowing what I should look out for. So even in going to the military, the same symptoms that I had when I was finally diagnosed, were the same symptoms I had in the military that were ignored. So it started with faith, a barrier to healthcare, and then that was continuing in the military. So, um, and doctors were put on this earth, I believe they're given that gift to help others. But I was denied that growing up. So, um, that was something I definitely had to battle with as far
Mhm.
as my beliefs. But I still didn't let that shape me. And I didn't let that determine what I knew would not be the final outcome.
So let's dig a little bit deeper into faith, right? So when we talk about faith and your faith in the creator God, right? Did you lose faith in believing in God, or did you lose faith in the process that you could be healed or that you could overcome sickness? So when you talk about faith and faith being a barrier, I think sometimes we do believe that God and he can heal us from all things. But also, like you just mentioned, there are people in earth that God created that have these skill sets that he also utilized through their skill set to help those that believe and those that are seeking healing, right? So, what aspect of faith was challenged for you when you were growing up? Did you always have that faith knowing you would overcome in conjunction with also faith being a barrier? It's kind of a two-edged sword, right? Because of faith and the belief, we don't need a doctor, but also because of faith and belief, we know God put that here for us as well.
Definitely. So in that umbrella of faith, there's I would say one part of that is the religion part of it. And the religion part for me was a barrier. And being able to just you know, keeping or holding on to that confidence that my faith is not shaken. I had to question the religion practices of others, especially when they were in charge of my upbringing and my well-being, and that part of my faith I would say was challenged because there came a time in my life I had to do that thing called forgiveness.
Mhm.
And so okay, forgiveness is a part of faith, also part of religion, but how does one do that when the people who are in charge of your healthcare um totally ignored that because of their beliefs or their upbringing caused me harm, but I had to forgive them, and that was part of my faith as well.
What helped you stay grounded?
Being able to see the future and have hope. Some people lose hope, and when you lose hope, that puts you, I would say, in a very compromising position. But I never lost hope. Deep down inside, I never lost hope. And I was blessed to have people in my life who came along beside me, who were advocate for me, who just reinforced in me that things will be okay. You will make it.
Let's talk about the mental component of this. You were a track athlete at St. Augustine's College. They are known for being one of the best college track programs in the country. So you know mentally what that takes to perform at the highest level. You have been a military um, officer, and you know what that takes to lead men and women. Battling cancer, you also had to have that same mental fortitude and strength. How did you find that, and what was that process like for you?
I would say one of the most important aspects of all the military training, training with Homeland Security, the best element of all of that was having the experience of being a basketball coach in California, from YMCA when my son started playing to AAU. I coached boys and girls junior high school basketball, and I also coach boys and girls high school basketball. So when I received that diagnosis, the first thing that came to my mind is all the leadership or the different things about life skills that I've been trying to instill in those athletes now apply it to me.
Mhm.
Giving up is not an option. Now it's time to fight. Um, and I owe that number one to my son and to his generation because I wanted to see my son was playing basketball in Europe at the time, professional basketball player,
Mhm.
and I knew that I would have to give him that news. But in that, I wanted to see my son get married one day, have a granddaughter, watch my granddaughter grow up. So giving up is not an option for me. So that gave me even motivation, even more motivation to fight through um and see that process through.
Full gas and full throttle.
Yeah.
Um, what advice would you give a person going through a diagnosis of receiving and hearing the words, "You have cancer"? What advice would you give to them?
First and foremost, have a support group like I had. You need someone to walk with you through this process. For a Before I had my cancer diagnosed, I for a period of my life, I thought I could do life by myself. We weren't born to do life alone because the storms of life will come, whether you personally or family member. So when I received that diagnosis, I was very blessed to have a good support group, um, family extended. My coworkers weren't a part of that process. I was a member of an honor guard team for years. Um, so I told them my superiors knew, but even my coworkers that I worked with didn't know. Some of my good friends who were my coworkers, they didn't know. I came to work smiling and upbeat like I always did. I didn't change any of my routines. I continued to coach. I continued to work. I continued to be a part of my honor guard team because um, that kept my mind off sitting back, worrying about my circumstances and what was gonna happen in the future.
Mhm.
That kept me strong.
Thank you. That's some good advice. You know, we talked about some of your childhood, and we talked about the cancer diagnosis. Um, you just recently retired, right?
Yes, I did. After 33 years of federal service, I retired November 30th of 2024.
Well, congratulations. And so that leads me to what's life now for Tim Jones?
I love it. I could set my own schedule. Um, I'm looking forward to traveling more definitely. Um, but also is giving me more time to be involved and be available for others. Um, for my younger years, I was very selfish, and that's a part of growing and becoming wiser. Um, but I've learned that what I've gone through, I can use that to help others do just as you're doing. And that inspired me. Your story inspired me to do that. I ride in special events for kids with cancer. In March, I rode 300 miles. Well, the goal was 300 miles for the American Cancer Society. Of course, I did more than 300. Okay, I
Mhm.
can do more than 300 in 2 weeks. So
Mhm.
in September, for the 3rd time, I ride with the shirt I'm wearing, the Great Challenge for kids fighting cancer. Last year, my goal was 600. I think I wrote 640. This year, my goal is 700. So I'm gonna ride more. So I'm blessed to make it through cancer twice. So now I can not only ride and do fundraising for kids or for anyone else fighting cancer, but also I've been blessed to come along other friends that I met through church or just riding who are going through cancer. It's made me, I would say, more visible, um, definitely, and more available to help others. So I'm blessed to have more time to do that, and I'm looking forward to traveling more and cycling with my team for sure.
Oh, thank you. You mentioned legacy. It's like you want to leave a legacy, the legacy of Tim Jones. You mentioned also you're a double cancer survivor. Now, what was that like after receiving the first diagnosis and treatment. What was that like to hear that you had cancer a second time?
I would say the stage was already set after the first diagnosis, even though that process took 3.5 years. My doctor first told me I would have to be on cancer treatment the rest of my life.
Mm,
But God said no. The higher power had the final decision. Though my process would last 3.5 years, I could ring that bell and walk out and I'm in remission. So to receive that diagnosed the second time, it definitely prepared me for it. It wasn't something I was looking forward to, but I was blessed to have, a primary care doctor who was on top of everything, even after leaving California and coming to Savannah. I was blessed to find a very good doctor who said, "Hey, when's the last time you had your PSA check?" I had that checked in mid-December of 2019. From that time until early November of 2020, my PSA count had changed out of
mm,
nowhere, and it was separate.
mm,
And it wasn't because I was riding X number of miles on a bike. It's just something that happened that my body had begun to break down, but my doctor noticed it, and we took care of it right away. My surgeon gave me 3 options. You can have it frozen, but it may come back. You can have radiation, or you can have it removed. So I asked my doctor, "What decision would you make?" He just said, "I would just have it removed." So that's the choice that I made, because going through radiation wasn't a choice for me after 3.5 years. So that was definitely a
yeah,
better decision, and I'm in remission. Um, and I can use that journey that I just went through to help someone else as I'm doing now in my church, someone who opened up to me, "Hey, this is what I'm going through. What did you do?" And I can help them. Okay, your mindset is very important. From the
mhm.
first time you receive that diagnose, your mindset can determine which road you're gonna take.
Did you ever ask why, Tim?
Never, never. Why not me?
Yeah.
Why not me?
Mhm.
But again, I can use that experience to help other guys, and I've shared with guys that I've ridden with. Um, they ask me, "How can you do what you do?" So number one, I'm blessed, but when's the last time you got yourself checked? And for guys, we don't want to do that. We'll
Yeah.
talk about everything else, but when it comes to sharing what we've gone through, then that's something that we kind of hands off on. And I've had coworkers who are not here today because they were prideful, macho.
Mhm.
It will cut your life short.
It will. It
But I have
will.
a greater purpose, so that's not an option for me.
Well, it sounds like the second diagnosis, you were mentally prepared and you knew how to handle this. Did it shape you in any other way, or were you still full gas, full throttle?
My thing was, I know it's going to be a painful process. And one thing that I was kind of nervous about was when my doctor told me, okay, he's one of the top surgeons, neurologist, but a robot was gonna be working on me. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, hopefully that robot is programmed and will be no malfunctions." But everything turned out well. I had less incisions needed. Yes, it was a very painful, healing process when your prostate is removed from your body. That's not an easy thing to go through, but I just kept myself focused on, "I'm gonna be okay," number 1, and number 2, I'm gonna be back on the bike soon. As soon as I can sit on it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there, and I did. I had to wear 2 pair of padded pants because I was back on it, but that helped me stay focused, looking at the ultimate end of that process and not where I was currently, or it would've made it much tougher.
It seemed like cycling, in a sense, was your healing. I know for me, it's a safe place. I like to feel the wind blowing in my face, and I like to hear your body making music. Your heart has a rhythm, the chain is clacking, the tires are humming, your breath is like rhythmic, it's like music, and it just soothes me. So for you, um, let's talk about a little how cycling was healing for you. How did you get into cycling initially? And what role did that play moving forward in your life?
Moving when I moved to, in January of 2020, I had a job transfer because my mother in North Carolina was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Mm,
So, that was another element I had to deal with during that time, and it was during COVID time as well. So, in between visiting her, I even took my bike to Rocky Mount sometime to ride.
mhm, mhm.
I used that when everything else was shut down to, number 1, stay active, and for mentally, it was healing for me as well. As you say, it gave you outlet, and I needed that, um, to just keep me focused on something different, and overall health. I couldn't run anymore because of, bad knees and back and, military is not very kind when it comes to, all the things that they force you to do. And it can tear up your body. But I didn't use that as an excuse to sit down and eat potato chips and bonbons. Even though I
Yeah,
like potato chips and ice cream, yeah, you got to balance that stuff out. So,
yeah,
cycling gave me an outlet, and not only an outlet, but a community because that's how we met.
yeah.
Without cycling and meeting Team Flow at One Love Ride, and I rode with that group and had a connection with them, and then I was told about what you were fighting, what you were going through, and then I met you at a ride in outside of Rocky Mount, and um and that's why we're here now. So that gave me a different sense of community, and it all started with 2 wheels, and I love that sound of the wheels going woo woo. I love that sound. I love it. The wind don't blow through my hair anymore because I don't have any, but and I can ride as fast as I want and as long as I want. And I'm
Yes, you can. For our listeners out here, Tim did a race in Kearneysville, ladies and gentlemen, at 65 years old, 64 at the time. And I was shooting the race for our team, and he um was on the front, and I'm Tim, get out the front, but Tim was like, I'm giving it all that I have for as long as I can. And it was just amazing to see him ride with people 30, 40 years his junior. And
yeah,
that was amazing to see. And just a testament of being a double cancer survivor to see you do that, I'm sure was inspirational for all that know. And for our listeners, imagine seeing that. That can encourage you as well. Hey,
yes.
let's do a rapid fire session. So I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. Do
Okay.
you have a favorite quote or saying?
Yes. I have a few,
Mhm.
um, but there was one quote that comes to mind that I used to, all of my basketball players. I think Scottie Pippen, I think, came in with this, and that is good, better, best. When your good becomes your good, let your better become your best. So that reminds me that every day I wake up, I want to be the best version of myself that I can be.
Yeah, I like that quote. Good, better, best.
Yes.
Y'all write that down. Good, better, best. I'm gonna
Never
steal
let
that
it
one.
rest.
Never
Never.
let it rest. Good, better, best. Yeah, I love that. Now, everybody has, music heals the soul, right? I
Yes.
talk a lot about frequencies in music and how certain music can make you feel a certain way. Was there a particular song or type of music that helped you through your journey, or just when you're going through? Is there a type of music that you kind of fall back to?
There's a song that I really love, and I was just listening to it this morning. Kurt Franklin, "I Smile,"
Hmm.
and in the lyrics, it says a lot. I mean, when the sun isn't shining in your life, you can still smile on the inside.
Hmm.
Um, when the doctors doesn't give you a good diagnose, you can still smile.
Yeah.
'Cause we know who has the ultimate say. Um, So that definitely is a song that constantly goes with me, and every day I wake up, I'm filled with gratitude. Even if my back hurts, guess what? I'm gonna get up, stretch it out, get that ride in anyway, because I'm blessed to do that.
Mhm. So I like that. Good, better, best, and I smile. So we going somewhere with this. All right. So you're retired now. You already have seen the world with the military, but if there's one place that Tim can say, you know what, I'm gonna leave the United States, which is an amazing country, and move somewhere else, what would that place be on your bucket list? Your surreal, serene place of just solitude. Where would you go?
Move there or just visit?
Move there.
Oh man. You know what? I'm a new granddad, so I can't move. I gotta see that little girl grow up. If there's some place that I could go to for like 30 days, I want to go back to Finland. My son, that was his last team that he played for.
Hmm.
And there's so many areas around Finland that I like to visit. Unfortunately, when I went, it was still cold, and they were just in that middle of changing seasons. So Finland, I've got to go to Italy. I want to go to Spain. I want to ride on some of the roads that the pros ride on in Tour de France for sure. So wherever I go, my bike's going with me for
Your
sure.
bike go with you.
For all my gear for sure. But those are some of the places I love to go.
Final word, Tim. What would you say to someone going through some challenges and difficulties in life, whether it be cancer, whether it be a life situation? What's something that you would tell them to kind of help them along their way?
I would say something that I mentioned before that really helped me. Um, if you can come to a place, number one, you have to have a good support team. Number two, come to a place where you can visualize physically, even if you had to write it down, visualize where you want to be in the process. It may take you you can only focus on 1 minute at a time. There were some days I couldn't focus on what was happening next week. I could only focus on an hour at a time. Then I could build up to a day, a week, a month. But I never lost hope and the vision of where I would be and where I knew it would be. And that gave me the energy to continue walking and making progress to that final step. But
Yes,
you
sir.
have to have a vision in your mind of where you wanna go. If I'm gonna ride an event, I'm gonna write down a time that I wanna finish in, and I wanna get a training, um, process in place, even reaching out to you or a Tim who's helped me tremendously to reach that. But I'm not gonna do it alone. Imma have a support group with me and share your vision with them. And then you have other people that's gonna be on board with you. Before you know it, you're gonna be there. And then you set another goal. I never stop setting goals for myself. Never.
Yeah, yeah.
I always need something to work towards.
Love that. Love that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the great Tim Jones. Tim, definitely thank you for being here. How can people follow you? Your Instagram handle, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Where can they find you?
You know what, Tony? I'm old school. I'm still getting used to the Zoom like we did this morning. We had to
Yeah.
work around some barriers with technology. I'm on Facebook, but not really. I do post on Facebook when I'm involved in my charity events, so people can donate in any way they want to. That's pretty much the only time I'm on Facebook. I'm still old school. I'm getting there. I'm getting
Getting there.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Well, you got a lot of life left, so we got to get you up to speed. Many,
exactly.
many more podcasts in your future. Tim, man, look, thank you for your time. Thank you for this interview. Thank you for sharing and imparting parts of your journey and your wisdom to our listeners. And definitely appreciate you being on the show today.
Welcome. And Tony, thank you for the way you have inspired me. Even though you're still in that process, You never used it as an excuse. You use that as a springboard to reach the community, to reach others in a powerful way, doing your podcast and through the patient story. Um, Thank you for inspiring me and inspiring others. Um, and talk about legacy. That says so much about who you are, about your faith, and you never said once, and it wasn't an option that cancer was going to win.
That's right.
So that's one of many things that we have in common and keeps us strong, keeps us going. But thank you for following through with your vision to reach out and help others. That is huge. I used to call you my big brother. You remind me, dude, you're older than I am. I'm your little brother. So
Yeah.
from big brother to little brother, I appreciate you and love what you're doing and thank you for what you're doing for
Thank
touching
you.
the lives of others. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim Jones, everybody. Have a great day, Tim.
Thank you. You too. Be
Be
blessed.
blessed.